Hello. Hey y'all. So we are back with another Jay's Safe Space. How are y'all? Get down in these chats. Let's talk a little bit. This is going to be a little bit different. I actually do have something in particular I want to talk about, but I'm going to be doing something, and I've talked about it. As you see, we've got a little greenery hanging out. I'm kind of speaking in here, but I'm going to be doing something. So here's a quick little life update before we get into the things of the things. I've recently transitioned into a florist role. Hello. Hi. I love plants. I love gardening. I've talked about that before. I've hinted at the fact that it's something that I work in and work with. And so my current role is a florist role. And so that's what I do, for a large, a large-ish, but boutique style grocery chain. And so this is going to be a little bit of a different kind of chat here because I am going to be chatting, but I'm also going to be multitasking because prom season is right around the corner. And I am a new florist, and there are already orders for boutonnieres and corsages and mini bouquets. And I've never done a bouquet or bouquet. I've never done a mini bouquet for a prom. And so I've done a lot of research, and I pulled just some flowers I was going to discard at work. I kind of brought them home so that while I am filming this episode, I can be experimenting with a mock mini bouquet for a client of mine who has already made a request, and her specific request included one of our base flower that we're going to be using here. So I'll get into that just a little bit. But also, by the time this airs, I am going to be on the road or maybe even at the location for just a little family vacay, celebrating my birthday at the same time. And so I have some reflections because, as we get started, I'm going to tell you what flower I'm using and then we're going to get into the chat. So, our main flower here is a gorgeous hydrangea. So these are hydrangeas. I actually grow these at home as well. We grow these, and so I'm going to be using hydrangea in this arrangement. But we're going to talk, and I'll shout out some of the flowers as I use them, and some of the greenery that I have, because again, I'm learning. So I'm excited to share some of that knowledge. So in preparation for my birthday coming up, I was thinking about the things are the things. I always like to reflect. I'm not the biggest birthday person as far as like going all out and planning something all the time. Like I did something for my 30th, and that was intentional and it was special, and I got to really enjoy a great time with friends. And I brought 30 in a really special way. And I've had a couple trips like that with friends. Gorgeous white rose here. Again, these are discards from work. These are things that I would have normally dumped or been told to dump. The hydrangeas, I was able to revive them. Just a tip on reviving some plants, mini flowers, cut flowers in particular. This is cut flower. Mini cut flowers, if you place them in hot water for a few hours, and allow them as they've been cut. Now you have to cut them before you put them in. And anytime you buy flowers, before you put them in, that floral water, that combination of a floral packet and distilled water or fresh water, purified water. Before you do that, always cut your flowers. It allows for maximum water retention. And so this florist thing is actually kind of fun because I know quite a bit about flowers already and herbs and different things like that. And so I might be using two hydrangeas here. We're going to see. And so I've been able to utilize some of my knowledge that I already have, but I'm also getting to learn a lot of new things as it pertains to this company and as it pertains to like our clientele, which of course they're bouge. So you know how that can be. Yeah, I think that's going to be better for like a bouquet. Like, we're going to see if we can work this in here. But okay, just in reflecting for my birthday, I don't usually do really big things for my birthday. And even this one was not really my trip. It was something that I joined in on a family vacay during spring break. um, but I started thinking, and I always like to think deeply when my birthday comes. It's just been a thing that I do is I like to reflect on what I've learned in the past year. I also do the same thing for New Year's, like when there's a new year, I try and do the same thing. But for my birthday especially, I look at and I do like a personal inventory, like who is Jay now and how far has he come to get to where he is. And I think it's important that we do that kind of thing because if you don't take a personal like barometer, if you don't just kind of check where you are, what you've been through, what life has taught you, if you don't do that, how are you ever going to be able to measure your growth? How are you going to be able to know what you've done outside of other people telling you, oh, you've gotten better at this, or oh, you don't do that anymore? Like, isn't it important to kind of know that for yourself? Like, isn't self-reflection one of our greatest personal tools and how we can improve, how we can, again, just approach life differently? So for me, that's been one thing that I've been reflecting on quite a bit. Is like, what are patterns? What are things that I've noticed myself do um, that no longer serve me? Like what am I doing that is no longer something I should be, really giving my energy to. And one thing that has really stuck out to me is I have, and this is just me talking about me. I can't tell you about you, honey. That's you and your business. But I have a really bad habit of self-sabotaging. And, for some people, self-sabotage looks one particular way, like where our minds naturally go when we think self-sabotage. And that's not exactly what I mean. Like for me, and I've said it before on the pod, I have this habit of just comparing myself to those around me, whether they're my peers, whether they're relatives, whether they're colleagues, and I compare my growth and my development and my journey to theirs. And I have a bad habit of self sabotaging myself in the sense of now because I'm on this mental spiral of what I haven't accomplished by such and such age or what I haven't done in any particular kind of way, I'm not good enough. And it starts kind of triggering these emotions of worthlessness. And it gets back to a conversation of personal and self-worth. And that has been a big thing that I've been working on in the past year is my view of myself. It's great for the world to think highly of you. That's wonderful. But it's even better for you to think highly of yourself. And that's been a thing that I've been really tackling. Again, this is a space of transparency. This is a judgment free zone. So when you tap in here, know that that's what I'm doing. The goal is never to be salacious. It's not even about like, this is my business. So for me to be sharing my business, let me just let you know it's coming from a place of ministry, not from a place of salaciousness and not from a place of messiness. But I just feel like if we're all on this life journey and we are learning things and we're getting better and we're improving or whatever, like when you overcome an obstacle, isn't it great to be like, I did that? But isn't it even better to share with someone how the divine blessed you to get through that? Like, isn't it better to share with someone who might be going through it? Because I've heard it. I heard it first from Iyanla. Y'all know I call her my TT, TT Iyanla. I heard it first from her where she talked about why is it that when someone is, you notice something in someone like they're so this, they're so that, their attitude, their whatever. Why is that so familiar to you? Why is it so familiar to you that you can tell everybody exactly what's wrong with them? Why is it familiar to you what's wrong with them? And it was a mollywhopper for me because if it's familiar to you, that means that you either still do it, you have seen it done, you've experienced it firsthand when it comes to another person, or it's something that like maybe again a parent or something like that, like you've seen it happen. But when it's familiar to you, that means that you have something to say about it. You have something to say in the sense that there's that personal connection. And it's interesting because if you can say, I know exactly what's wrong with Felicia. She really needs to leave that no good man because she really needs to think higher of herself, and she needs to know that she's that girl, and that man is no good for her. He ain't gonna do nothing for her. He ain't gonna bring her no light, no nothing. He just gonna take everything good that she got going. Why is it that you know that that's exactly what's gonna happen? And why is it that you know that self-work is what she needs to get with? Why is that so familiar to you? And I'm saying this about me, but it's hypothetical. But it's hello and welcome back to Jay's Safe Space. This is, of course, a mini segment of the 5011 Chronicles Network. We are growing, we're doing our thing, and of course, y'all know what we do on the show. We have conversations that spark conversations. So I have to explain what's going on here. I've said before, I'm going to have different episodes, different types of episodes. We got greenery, sneaking a peek. We've got carnations, mini carnations, and hydrangea and rose. So I've made a life transition recently, and this is all about transparency. This space is about transparency. It's about learning lessons. It's about having fun, of course, but if you've listened to our podcast, we have a natural tendency to go into the spiritual, the emotional, the mental aspect of what we go through in life and what we experience and what we observe. So I've had a life transition recently, and I've recently transitioned into the role of a florist. So I am a full-time florist, and it is an adjustment. I've never been a florist before. I know quite a bit about flowers, and I garden. And this has been a major transition for me, but I've gotten really excited about the work that I'm doing. And since I've transitioned into this role, I have been hit with a bunch of major holidays. I mean, Easter is big for florists, and prom season's right after that. Then right after that is Mother's Day. And Mother's Day is the biggest holiday for flowers. And second to Mother's Day is Valentine's Day, which thankfully is behind us. That would have been a monster too. But I am working to prepare for prom season, and I've already been requested to create a mini bouquet. They ask for specific colors, and because I've never made homecoming or prom bouquets or anything of that sort, I need to get more practice at it. And so I was like, oh, what better place than to do it at J Safe Space, a place where we learn, a place where we also educate. And so as I'm working on this, I will be sharing with you some of the flowers that I'm using, some of the greenery I'll be using. Again, these are all like dumped flowers. So these are things that the company was already ready to let go, either because of like age, how long we've had them, or because of quality. As you'll see, this rose is like fully popped open. You can see the stamen on the inside, and it's definitely fully bloomed. But I'm using a rose and a hydrangea as my base here. Get those in the camera there. And so I'm going to be building around this as if it were a prom bouquet, a mini bouquet for a prom. I've also got some tea here. This is one of my new favorite teas. The flavor is called Peach Bellini, and I've got it in my new little mug here. Let me see if I can spin it around so y'all can see my little Aries mug, and my little cloud, uh, uh, tea infuser. So love that. So good. Okay. So back to what's going on, because this is just going to be something I'm doing while we're talking. Um, I'm actually getting ready to go on vacation with my family, tomorrow. It'll be actually when this episode comes out, that I will be either on the road, almost there, or there. Um, and I'm throwing in some mini carnation. You can barely see them right now, but I'll show you a little more as I get it done. I've got some other colors, so I'm going to be experimenting, trying to figure out what I like and what I don't as I try and build this arrangement. So here we go. Um, we're going on a trip. It's going to be a beach trip. It's going to be a nice time to just relax. Like, it's no itinerary. It's just chilling with good people, that you love. And it it's actually coinciding with my birthday. My birthday, um will be towards the end of this week, and I will be turning 31 unapologetically. 31 years old. Yes, I know. I don't look 31, and I appreciate it. I'm thankful to my family for great genes. Both sides of my family. I mean, talking about good genes. So, every year when my birthday comes around, especially since I turned about 24-ish, since 24, 25-ish, every year my birthday comes around, I like to reflect on who I am as a person. Um, as I've gotten older, I've just realized that self-reflection is one of the absolute greatest tools that we have, to make us either better people or worse people. Or, like, I think using, um, self-reflection as a tool is a very powerful way to understand where you are and where you're going. And if you're not trying to, like, if you're not focused on improvement, like, what's the point? So, uh, this year I've been reflecting, and I've been thinking about, like, what are the things that still exist in my life, or the habits that I still have that are no longer serving me. And again, like I've said before, this is a safe space. This is all about transparency. It's not about being salacious. It's not about being messy and just spilling all my tea. No, that's not at all what it is. But I do think that because of some of the lessons I've learned, some the hard way, some in which I was given favor and grace, I think it just makes me a good, an expert on some of these matters of the heart and of life and of the divine, just in my experience of them. And so we got some white mini carnations here. I might try these and see, because this hydrangea is kind of green, which is one of the hues they can be. They can be green, they can be white, they can be blue, pink, purple. As they grow naturally, this is just a cool little tip. As they grow naturally, they, depending on your soil, the pH level of the soil will determine the color. And so they'll range from pink to blue naturally, with that happy medium, that kind of balance in the middle being that whitish greenish. I think it's called the limelight is the color in particular when it comes to hydrangeas. But okay, just a quick. So, again, this is a safe space. So my reflection, as I began to just look on at my past year and what I've done, and what I've accomplished personally. For those who don't know, last year was a really tough year for me. I experienced job loss, um, from my company going bankrupt, which was something I never experienced before, and I would not wish on my enemy. It was not just inconvenient, but it was a major headache and heartbreaking because of the wonderful people that I worked with, some of which had been there. I mean, we're talking 7, 15 years. This was the company that they had decided to retire with, that they loved. And so it was a sad thing to experience. But it also taught me quite a bit, uh, just about how to be, and I was a store manager. And so the company closed all of the stores. And so it taught me quite a bit about being an effective manager, but it also taught me about being a good human because of like, how much empathy is required to go through something like that. It's wild. And just some of the things that we experienced as a team, it was just crazy. So, I'm gonna try and sprinkle these yellow ones in here too. I got a couple mini whites and a couple mini yellows. I have a lot more mini yellows, so we're gonna see what I can do here. Um, but as I thought more about that past year, and I celebrated my 30th birthday. I'm not a big, like, birthday person, like planning a whole lot for my own birthday. Um, if someone else is doing something and I'm invited on a trip, I'll go. I've done that a couple of times, which is kind of what happened with this trip. It's a family trip that coincides with my birthday. It's not a birthday trip for me, because for me, birthdays it's not that they're just other days. They have their own sentimentality, but I think a part of it is it's so reflective for me. It's so self-reflective that I do look forward to the process of being able to be like, this is what I accomplished this past year. But back to the actual self-reflection that I've been having leading up to my birthday this week. I have been reflecting on the fact that the major bad habit that I have right now, my biggest current weakness that I'm working on, is that I self-sabotage. And I don't self-sabotage in just the like self-destructive way that most people think of. You know, hell, you'd be drugged out and no, it's not, no, it's not giving that. I'm not an alcoholic and, it's nothing like that. The greatest downfall I have when it comes to how I treat myself with self-sabotage, there's two. One is comparison. Comparison beats me up in a way that leads to a spiral. And it gets really bad sometimes, especially depending on where I am mentally just in my day to day. But then the second component of it is that when I'm talking about self-sabotage, it's how I talk to myself and what I think about myself. And sometimes those things that we repeat in our mind about ourselves and our situation, which are what we're telling our subconscious mind we believe, those are the things that I've really come to realize are the greatest weakness I've been having against myself, the greatest weakness I can control. And so I wanted to talk about that. I wanted to talk about self-sabotage kind of as its own topic, but in particular, ways in which we might self-sabotage and might not even be realizing it. I have a friend that when things go well in their life, their instant reaction is to take a deep breath and brace themselves for the other shoe to fall. And that is a form of self-sabotage. That is a way in which you have already prepared and braced yourself for the worst. You haven't even allowed yourself to accept and appreciate the beauty of whatever you've just accomplished or experienced. You're already in a space of preparation for the worst. I do that sometimes myself, which is why that was familiar to me. I once heard Iyanla say on one of my favorite little speeches of hers, she did this little talk at, I think it was like a Black business forum, like an excellence forum or something of that sort. And she worked with the topic of It's All About You. It's one of my favorite ones. You can find it on Audible. I love it. It's about an hour and a half. It's wonderful. I mean, she ties it biblically. She gives wonderful metaphors and stories, just like really, just so brilliant, so brilliant. That's my TT Yana. And so in that, she talks about how we as humans have this habit of being able to pinpoint what is wrong with someone else in our life. We're able to be like, oh, that's a narcissist right there. That's the problem. Your problem is you're a narcissist and you don't know how to take anybody else's criticism. That's your problem. Your problem is you talk too much. If you would shut up sometimes and maybe use your two ears, you would be able to better understand what's going on. Your problem is you're living beyond your means. That's your problem. Why is it that that's familiar to you? Why is it that you're able to tell somebody exactly what's wrong with them? And this is what I'm going to connect it to self-sabotage. Follow me. But this is my thing. Why is that familiar to you? And that's the question she posed, is when we know that somebody else in our life has issues, has problems, they got something going on, they need to handle theirs and fix theirs and deal with that and get with their creator and talk to their people, and they need to handle that. They need therapy. That's what's wrong with them. They need therapy. Oh, I hoped I was going to be able to use this cute, like, look how fuzzy, and that would have been so adorable up in there, just like up in there, green and fuzzy. But she has got no stem. She must have broken off on the ride here. She's done so. Yeah, can't use her. Um, but when she said that, and I just really began to think, how many times have I said, I know exactly what's wrong with so and so. This their problem. That's what XYZ, ABC, blah, blah, blah. I've done it more times than I can count. Full disclosure. I've done it more times than I can count. And the reality of the situation. And she said it, which is why it's called It's All About You. Everything that is in your realm that pops up, it can be major life events. It can be major world events. It can be the smallest things at work, at school, at play. It can anything. There's almost always, because it's your life, your experience, your perspective, there's always a connection to you. So something about that, you can almost always find a metaphor. You can almost always find a symbol of what is going on in your life, the things that happen that don't seem like direct reflections of your life. They are. Life is almost always reflected back to us in some way. It can be another person. I call my best friends my mirrors. They can see the things in me that I can't see in myself, and vice versa. But the way that we reflect to each other, what is actually present, that brings it's that reflection, self-reflection, but that's also like a communal relationship type of reflecting that also works. So it hit me so hard because I then began to reflect ever since hearing it, because they say when you know better, you do better. Ever since hearing it, I began to reflect differently, and I began to ask myself when I could pick up on somebody else's mess, what does that have to do with me? What does that have to do with me? And it's interesting because I have a coworker. I have a coworker who I love. She's a hot mess, as am I. Um, she is a hot mess, and I'm always getting on her and talking to her about how she can better treat herself. Like, I'm like, why are you letting XYZ ABC do this? Why are you letting them get away with this in your life? Why are you not taking time for self-care? Why are you not taking time to rest? I say all these things to her with all of my chest and all of my backbone and all of the vibrations in my diaphragm. I say it. And every time that I have those moments that I say that to her, I come back and I reflect to myself, now what of that do I need to walk away with for myself? Because that could have just been for me. I am, for those who don't know, and we call it different things depending on your community, depending on who and what you believe in, where they call it different things. But God and I have a very close relationship. God and I have a very close relationship. And those in a more um, spiritual study of things might call it clear cognizance, where you have a clear knowing of things. You're given a channeling. This is what it is. You know it without any understanding. I've said things to people I have no way of knowing, and things have come out of my mouth in moments of reflection, in moments of conversation, in moments of community and connection, where things have come out of my mouth that have been a word for me and the person I was talking to. And they're like, oh, you don't know how much I needed that. You don't know how much I needed that. That was me. That was the divine speaking through me. That's how God works in my life. So I know different people call it different things, but that's what it is for me. And I have had to get better at when I'm having these conversations or these moments where I'm coming up almost with a judgment of someone in front of me. I know what's wrong with you. I can tell you what's wrong with you, or I've decided and I've taken that moment now to slow down and reflect it back to me before I say anything to somebody else about what they got going on in their life. Who am I? Who am I to tell you anything about your life that you haven't asked for? Unsolicited advice, unsolicited criticism. You didn't ask me for that. And it's not my job to owe that to someone. If that's not now, when it comes to me doing what I've been called spiritually, I do that unapologetically. And if I have to say something, I say it. I don't want to deal with the repercussions of not saying it. But I've come to realize that for me in particular, my self-sabotage looks like a lack of self-care when life gets a little difficult. It looks like getting caught in that spiral, that emotional spiral of worth, because for me, that is another thing that I've noticed and connected back to self-sabotage is I have a lot of conversations with myself about my own worth and how little I sometimes think of myself. And it breaks my heart to have to admit that. But like I'll have conversations and I'm so blessed to have friends that when I have really low moments, I can tell them where I am emotionally. I can I can say it, and sometimes I don't have to say it. They'll pick up on it. They'll send me the best of messages. They'll offer the most amazing of gestures just for me, and to be loved by a chosen family in that way is brilliant. It's wonderful, and I love my given family as well. Like my given family is the same. When you have chosen family, the people that you choose to have in your life, the people that you choose to share and connect with. Like it's just different. It's just different. I'm gonna cut some of these stems down because they're like bopping up against my knee, and we want to have a little more peace in this process. So, and I also just snuck in. Y'all probably saw me do it. But I snuck in a pink cluster of carnations over here, and I've been working on some white ones over here, and that I've got a couple of yellow. So it's not gonna be a super formally one right now. This is me getting comfortable with building a base. I would have normally had some baby's breath. Everybody's seen baby's breath. Whether you've seen it on Minnie Riperton or Jill Scott, or whether you're seeing it in an arrangement. But the little cute little white flowers, really kind of wispy, that usually go great with roses and go great with arrangements. I'm definitely gonna put baby's breath in mini bouquets for prom. That is without question. So, yeah, I think I might have enough flowers here. I was trying to see. Oh, I've got another little pink mini carnation over here. They're almost not mini though. I could probably just sneak her in. Oh yeah, I got a little hole right there. So I'm gonna sneak her in that hole right there. So, and I need to kind of get her behind another stem because carnations can be a little flimsy sometimes. Um, because it's like this gorgeous flower on top of this super thin. I mean, look how thin that is. Super thin stem. That is nothing compared to like a hydrangea stem, and definitely nothing compared to like a sunflower stem. I almost need like kitchen shears to cut through a sunflower stem. Those jokers are huge. But even like, yeah, like look, there's the hydrangea stem. It's like 3 times the size of that mini carnation. And even the rose is a thicker stem than that. I'm gonna push some of these down just a little bit so that we've got, it's called more of a pave style when they're all on the same level. And that's kind of what we're going to be going for here. So we're going to like adjust our greenery and stuff as we go. Because we're going to keep this greenery, as they say, greenery is free. And, the greenery that's attached to the plant is free. And these hydrangeas have these gorgeous, huge leaves, with the point, very romantic. I just want to pave styles when they're all on the same level. I want to make sure that I kind of get all of our flowers going like in a cylindrical, not a cylindrical, a spherical situation. Um, so yeah, as y'all know, attention deficit. So back to it. Self-reflection, self-sabotage. The things are the things. I have a really gnarly habit of, again, speaking unkind to myself. And it's not even that I say it out loud. That is the lesson that I'm trying to teach here in particular. It was the one thing I really wanted to make sure that if I said anything in here, I said that is it's not always the things that we say aloud about ourselves, because many of us might do the self-deprecating humor thing, which I guess can be fine if that's like your zhuzh. It's no longer mine. I try not to do that. Um, because I'm just a strong believer that what we say has so much power. It has so much power, especially when you use I am statements, because I am statements connect us directly to the divine. And you might call them magical, you might call it spelling, you might call it whatever. Different people call them different things. And I think that's the thing that we need to take away, is if we would stop spending so much time judging each other on why our beliefs are different and why we call things different things, and we focused on the core principles of loving each other and making this planet better and taking care of business, like we would all be so much happier, and there'd be so much less frustration, and we wouldn't have wars. Everybody would just mind their business, you know? So, I'm off the soapbox. And I'm not gonna, I was gonna say my apologies, but that's another thing I'm working on, because that is also a form of self-sabotage, is apologizing and saying, I'm sorry at times when you have no business apologizing. I meant what I said. There's no apology needed for that soapbox. Yep, I meant every second of that one, honey. So what I've got here, I think these are so pretty. This one's a little dry. So when you see me in the future working with them and they're a lot wispier, it's tree fern. And these are gorgeous. You've probably seen these in bouquets or in arrangements, usually with roses. They're just so wispy and they're gorgeous. And I'm going to sneak some in here. But it needs to be like more elegant. So I'm snipping some off. So that's what you'll hear, the little clipping as I'm going. So, yeah, it's not always what you say out loud that counts. You know, it's what you actually think. And if you repeat, I'm stupid, then you'll continue to do things that you consider stupid. You'll actually begin to believe that you are stupid. And the thing about it, the reality of it is we hear this all the time. You know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt. Words can hurt. Words that people say to you can hurt, and words that you say to yourself can hurt worse, whether you believe it or not. So you see what it did there? You see what it did there? You see how it gave us that soft, romantic feel? Oh, that's pretty. Again, this is dehydrated-ish. She's a little dry, but if she were hydrated, she'd be giving something a little bit different. But even as dehydrated, she gives this nice, like, fall rustic feel. I kind of like that. That's kind of cool. Okay, so I got another little clipping. I have several more clippings, actually. I'm going to probably put these, like, in quadrants, just so we can get, a good little cushion, because we're going to surround it with a little bit more greenery that's a little harder. It's something that's called ruscus. I'm pretty sure this is Israeli ruscus, but I'm not 1,000% sure. So we're going to be using ruscus, and it might have two kinds, because this looks, well, no, it's the same thing. But you can see, as you can see from looking at these leaves, it's not the happiest, which is why I'm using it to play with and to try this out. So yeah, it kind of looks like it makes me think of SpongeBob. If it makes sense, it makes sense. But I think it's the yellow and the pink. It for some reason makes me, and then it's the fact that it kind of looks like a star, the way I'm splitting up that one hydrangea. Keep in mind, this is all one hydrangea. Like all of that is one, and we've just been sticking the flowers in it and around it. And that's kind of cool. Okay. So back to self-sabotage and how we talk to ourselves. Yeah, we're getting there. I told y'all. Ooh, shiny. And then I love plants. Um, so just because you don't say it out loud doesn't mean it doesn't have power. When you believe something about yourself and you repeat that to yourself, that has power. It works just like a mantra. It becomes a negative mantra of I'm stupid, I'm ugly, nobody wants me, nobody loves me, nobody needs me, I'm not supported, I'm not good enough. You repeat those things, and sometimes it's I'm too big, I'm too skinny, I'm too black, I'm too white, my hair's not long enough, my hair's too long, my hair's too thick, my hair's too fine, like my lips too full, my nose too small, I ain't got no lips, I ain't got no ears. If you spent half as much time speaking life into yourself as you spend beating yourself up, what would your life look like? That's the question. That's the takeaway. It's not just some new age conversation about, oh, I love myself and I'm going to go around and walk and talk like I love myself. That's what I'm going to do, honey. Nobody said that. Nobody asked for that. What I'm talking about is I'm talking about the reality of, are you doing what it takes to make yourself the best version of yourself? Are you doing what it takes to get yourself to the optimum level? And sometimes that looks like questioning how you talk to yourself. I'm going to tell you, I've had my own issues with dating. I've had my own issues with jobs and promotions. Even this company I currently work for, I've had struggles that have been ridiculous. And I've been knocking on Indeed's door. You know, we've all been there where things are just unpleasant. But do you know the power of one good day? Do you know the power of one good interaction? The power of one good, and I'm not saying stay in a place where you're unhappy, because the truth of the matter is you have to go, where your heart sings. You have to go where, oh, I kind of like that. That's kind of spicy. You have to go where your heart sings. And if it's not the company that you work for, and if it's not what you're doing, then why are you doing it? Yeah, bills have to be paid. I totally get that. I totally get that. Is there a way that you can still get your bills paid and begin doing something that you love, or begin finding something that you love? Can you start doing some exploration of that in a little bit of your free time? An hour here, 2 hours there. Can you do that? Like, is that something that's possible? I think that we all have, sorry, I'm trying to rip this leaf instead of cut it. And it was really fighting back. It was like, nah, I'm not going anywhere. Um, but we got it. Let me get this in here. I need it to be a base, but I slick want to use this leather leaf because I had some leather leaf that I was using earlier that was absolutely gorgeous. Let's see what the leather leaf is giving, because the leather leaf might do it. The leather leaf is not going to do it. The leather leaf is not going to do it. Um, I almost feel like I need more greenery. No, I do. I need more greenery. Sorry, y'all. We're taking a quick aside to look at the flowers because I do have to assess this as I go. I am a student, after all, of the craft. So let me see. I've got some eucalyptus up here. Got some of this spiny stuff that's not giving. I'm gonna see if I can make this ruscus work, y'all. Um, but okay, let's get back to transparency. So, I've had issues with work. I've had issues with dating. And when you have so many back to back, you begin to really look at yourself a certain kind of way. You begin to really think of yourself a certain kind of way. And it's by no means whatsoever helpful. It does nothing positive whatsoever for you, whatsoever. But I think, and I know I'm not the only one who does it. I think we all kind of have a habit of doing it in some form or fashion. For me, the problem began to arise when I was noticing that I was beginning to connect dots in a different way. I was beginning to see how there were chains that connected throughout, like my timeline, if so to speak, throughout my own sacred timeline. But I began to see how, because of certain life experiences, the accumulation of a self-worth belief or self-worth concept, or a lack of self-worth concept, and even how it would affect self-esteem. And I don't know, it's been a powerful thing for me, just going back, and revisiting some of those moments. And even the cringy ones, y'all. Like, I'm gonna be real. I've got some cringy moments that I'm like, who want to go back and relive that? Who want to go back and see how that played out? I don't. But the reality is that, who wants to grow? Who wants to learn? Who wants to be better and do better? Those are the real questions, because yeah, growth is not fun. This is the one that's something I think a little bit different, because the leaves are a little bit different. But they're giving. I don't know what this one is yet, but as I'm learning, the next time I use it, I will try and have the name of it. And I think that might be a good base one. Like, put these two ruscus on the side, and then pop it like right in the center up top. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. But I might need to weave it in here somewhere. Like, it might need to go in like that. Let's pull out some of these leaves. So I'm going to ask a question, and I want some of you who feel comfortable enough to answer it in the comments. Are there any lies that you tell yourself? Are there any lies that you believe about yourself that you tell yourself repeatedly? And it can be something trivial, y'all. It doesn't have to be, I want y'all to get in these comments and be sharing your deepest, darkest confessions. No, we don't have to do that right here. if you need a safe space to do that, you can always reach out to me personally. Um, I have no problem, being a space for you to bounce ideas off of and help you find resources when you need them, because it could be therapy, there are all type of resources out there that many of us don't even know about, and so we can do some research. I didn't like the way that sounded, but I think it got it in there. I also don't ever like the way that it sounds when a plant kind of gets in the spot. I don't like it there. Um, it just sounds so angry sometimes, like paper ripping. I don't always like that. Uh, so I think we're just going to put this down here somewhere. Yeah, I think that might be what we have to do. Because we've got those greeneries are actually doing pretty good. Y'all see that? I don't know if I'm not actually the greatest at getting camera angles and stuff here, because it's going to take part of the camera off, but I feel kind of good about that. I still feel like I should get another piece in here somewhere. Like, yeah, maybe down there. And that'll give us like almost like a triangular base. Yeah, that's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. It's got some nice motion to it. Um, Anything else I'm gonna sneak in there? I did think about, so I'm sure you guys have heard of this plant before. There's so many varietals of it. But this is actually a form of eucalyptus. This is silver dollar eucalyptus, and huge silver dollar looking leaves, just huge leaves. It's a gorgeous, like wispy addition to any arrangement. I think I have a leaf over here that's shorter and it has less to remove. Um, that's important because I try and save what I can when I'm cutting. I don't always, if a plant naturally has stuff that needs to be trimmed off, I might go ahead and just trim that off. Is there any space that needs green? Like, I mean, I could go right here next to the rose and just kind of put this silver dollar over it, but I kind of don't think it needs it. I mean, it would be nice and gorgeous on there, but I don't think it needs it. So I'm going to tape this. Y'all, I got some floral tape around here somewhere. I thought I had it right next to me, but apparently it's not. Well, oh, on the other side. Okay, so yes, like I said, those of you who feel comfortable, hop down in the comments. Let's have a conversation about a transparent conversation about self-sabotage. Because I think we all do it in a kind of way. And I'm not even like, that's not even me getting into the big ones. Like, I'm not a trained therapist to have conversations about, people and their like drug use and addiction, and like those are actually considered, and this is the reality of it, those are considered um mental health conversations. It's a deeper conversation that requires a professional who better understands it, and that is not a bad thing. Let me tell y'all, because here's another reflection. I had a therapist last year, and she was amazing. I'm a huge advocate for therapy, for counseling. I think that if you need it, get it. Like, many of us, especially in the Black community, were raised to believe that it stays in the house and therapists are all up in your business and you don't need to go in there and tell a stranger nothing. It's not about telling a stranger anything. It's about having a safe space with a third party that is like got no skin in the game, is not going to benefit from you winning or losing, like is really just there for you to bounce stuff off of. Like, it is a gift. It is an absolute gift. Y'all, I think I did it. I think I did it. I think I have a mini bouquet here. And I think I kind of like it. I'm gonna cut these stems down, and I'm just gonna see what it looks like with a little ribbon on it and just give it a little pizzazz. And I'm gonna start bringing this conversation to a close, because I really didn't mean to keep y'all here this long, talking about this, but y'all, that boy done turned around and learned how to make himself a mini bouquet for prom season that is just around the corner. I'm gonna put a little bit more, waterproof floral tape on here. This is not normal floral tape, not that stretchy stuff that you normally see. This is this is waterproof, super adhesive, like sticky floral tape. So we're going to use a little bit more of that. So yeah, so in conclusion, just like a 5-paragraph essay, to sum it all up, I am turning 31 and I'm excited about it. I have decided that in turning 31, I'm going to dream bigger than I've dreamed before. I'm going to accomplish so many things that I desire to do. I'm going to get better at so many things. I'm going to learn so many things. That's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the next chapter of my life. I think that in my 20s, as my 20s started to come to a close, a conclusion, you begin to fear that like it's over. Youth is done. I am no longer in my 20s. I'm going to be in my 30s. And no, I feel like now that I am in my 30s, like life is different. You know, life is it's like there's so much more good to go. You know, there's so much more good to go, and I'm like really excited about the next chapter of my life, especially the things that I hope to accomplish. But let me tell y'all, just keep watching. Just keep watching. He's got some stuff planned. As I'm turning 31, I know that I want to spend the next chapter of my life doing things that bring me joy, seeing more of the world, um, spending time with people that I love. Like, I'm sorry that this is so loud because I know that this can't be the most wonderful sounding. This is not ASMR by any means. But I'm going to wrap this tight. And this is actually not the pen that I'm going to use for the final process. But I'm going to use, for right now, I'm going to use a push pen to go in here. I have this push pen right here. Yeah, this push pen is just going to hold it for today. But y'all, look. So it's not perfect, but it is exciting. This is the start of Jay's mini bouquet process. This might be what the safe spaces look like through prom season. I might be bringing these flowers back and working on some things. So we're going to see. And I might even do some at work. We'll see. I don't know. But I just want to thank you so much for spending some time with me, having real conversations. My birthday's coming up. I'm really excited to be celebrating it. So definitely feel free to send a little happy birthday message. And I just want all of us to, again, spend that time reflecting. Like, it doesn't even have to be your birthday for you to reflect. But, if you start to notice something in somebody else that looks familiar to you, what does that mean for you? Why is that familiar to you? So again, thanks for tuning in. Love you guys. And I will see you next week in another Jay's Safe Space.